Hey there. So what's up with the name of my website and podcast, The Athena Arena? And my tagline, supercharge your business with a Wonder Woman brand. You may be wondering why Athena and why Wonder Woman brand? Tell me, what feeling or emotion does it evoke for you? Is it intriguing or does it fall flat? Does it give you an idea as to what it's all about? I have found that it immediately grabs someone's attention. And why do you think that is? Well, it has to do with using the power of archetypes in branding to communicate quickly who you serve, what value-driven results you produce for your clients, and painting a picture for your clients' future and possibilities. If the notion of using archetypes in branding is new to you, then stay tuned for today's quick introduction to archetypes in branding, why it's a power play in consciousness, and why advertising agencies have been using these for decades, either consciously or unconsciously, like me, to speak to their ideal clients. But before we get into today's topic, my name is Liz Garcia. I am your happy, insightful, and perceptive host of AthenaArenaRadio.com. Welcome to episode 3 of the Athena Arena podcast, the content and digital marketing strategy academy for aspiring 6, 7, and 8-figure, what I call Wonder Woman brands, and mastering your inner game. And for all you brilliant men out there, don't be fooled by the whole Wonder Woman thing. This is meant for you too. So what exactly are archetypes? Well, if you ever took a psychology course and learned about Carl Jung, he really was genius level at recognizing patterns in consciousness and kind of identifying archetypal patterns that we have created in mass consciousness together over the millennia that we've been on this planet, like hundreds of thousands of years they've been created. And they're essentially recognizable patterns in consciousness that are readily identifiable by ways of being, ways of looking, ways of speaking, and, skill sets, things like that. And there are 12 archetypes in branding. Some examples are an archetype called the innocent. And an example of a company using the archetype of the innocent in branding would be the Gerber baby food company. The archetype is pure, virtuous, and innocent. Those are the identifying factors of something that would be considered an innocent brand. Another one is called the magician archetype, which promises transformation of some sort. And an example of the magician archetype would be Tesla, the car brand. It's an example that seeks to transform the world, which it's doing with its electric batteries to, fuel cars or runner cars, and all the other things he's aspiring to do and transform the world with his innovations. So today I just wanted to talk about, the Athena Arena. How did that come to me? And I have to say, it just came to me without much thought. I didn't know anything about archetypes and branding when it came to me. But when it came to me, I don't know if I felt it, if I just heard it in my head or I just said it out loud, it sounded good and was quite catchy and represented who I wanted to help. And interestingly, the goddess Athena, her powers include strategy in war, courage, in that she inspired courage in men during wartime, and creativity, because during peaceful times she was quite the innovator and creative. And she's also widely known as the goddess of wisdom. That's probably how I really know her, is this is the goddess of wisdom, Athena, the goddess of wisdom. So to me, people that have something significant to share with the world are what I would call Athenas in their arenas. This is your field of expertise. You're an Athena in your own arena. And they embody creativity, courage, and wisdom in their field of expertise. So this is really the goddess Athena, which, by the way, men can embody creativity, courage, and wisdom in their own field as well. And I don't know who the god would be, the equivalent god in ancient Greek history. I don't know who the equivalent would be for males. And surprisingly, I discovered that Athena and I have much in common. And I recently took a Clifton Strengths test, and my top 2 skills are strategic and ideation, which is essentially creativity. Like, I love to create and think, and, I'm a creator type. So there's 2 powers within me, my top 2 powers, by the way, that are the same as the goddess Athena. And then I also was informed, so just so you know, some of you don't know, if you listen to my other podcast, Your Weekly Dose of Higher Consciousness, I discuss how I had a quantum spiritual awakening and really awoke into many mystical capabilities, like clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience. These are other ways of perceiving communication from the non-physical spirit realm. And that may sound woo-woo. I would have thought it was woo-woo decades ago until suddenly I'm in the thick of it. So, I went through some tremendous suffering, and I would ask God or life or angels or whomever. I was looking for any type of guidance. Like, why did I go through the horrendous things that I have gone through? And I finally got an answer during a mystical moment. And it's just how I was shown, like, why I came here and what I came here to experience. And what I came here to experience was to step into courage on many fronts, which is super interesting for me to have found out. So back to Athena, her 3 powers are strategy, courage, creativity. And I've got all of those running in my own kind of energy field. So I see how the goddess Athena can embody it. So that's how, it just came to me. I didn't consider all these other factors until really today, when I was writing up the script in this podcast for you. So I can see how the goddess Athena can embody a few archetypes, like the creator. That's an archetype that has to do with creativity. The sage, that's an archetype as well, which is really one who shares wisdom, right? And maybe a combination of the hero and the magician, because she inspires warriors to step into courage and transform themselves to a higher level of consciousness, essentially. And my use of the phrase Wonder Woman brand is the hero archetype in action, really. That's why that just came to me, and it felt good, it sounded good. This is what I'm trying to help people do, is really embolden them to step into their own greatness, essentially. So another example, so Wonder Woman is for sure a superhero archetype. And if someone says Wonder Woman, you know immediately what you're dealing with, right? She's a superhero, superpower, unconditionally loving for the people that she's helping, and then she's got tremendous valor and courage. Like, she's beyond courage, she's valorous. And fearless. So I love that about her, and I love that any of us, can be valorous and fearless in things that we truly believe in and stand for. So, like, we put a stake in the ground on something, and we're not going to be moved by it, especially if it's true and powerful, right? You can put a stake in the ground that is of lower consciousness, and it ain't going to stay there for long. But when you're confident and sure and true, then that stake is going nowhere, and no one's going to move it from you. And someone of higher consciousness wouldn't wouldn't even try. They just wholly accept you, right? So in the Athena arena, let me finish the Nike thing first. I skipped a part. Hold on. So an example of the hero archetype is the shoe company Nike, and Nike is the goddess of victory, and its "Just Do It" slogan exemplifies bold, risky, and ever striving, and encourages its audience to push themselves to their absolute limits to achieve their personal best. And in the Athena arena, I embolden you to put a stake in the ground and claim your power, step into courage, and accept your genius. So, why do I consider using archetypes and branding a power play in consciousness? Well, I like to think it's analogous to a picture telling 1,000 words, right? You hear that often. A picture tells 1,000 words. So much can be said without saying anything, right? A picture, and I like to share that if I get a clairvoyant, I get a flash of an image in my third eye, that picture tells I've received images that tell me a whole lifetime of a story, like in a flash. It's huge. That power to communicate in that way, you get so much is communicated through that image that nothing more needs to be said. It's like, oh, roger that, got it. So that's what I'm saying about when you align with, or intentionally align yourself with a recognizable archetype in consciousness all of us are aware of all of them, really, whether you're conscious of it or not. And just using this archetype will speak volumes at a totally different level, right? The Athena arena and a Wonder Woman brand speaks volumes at a totally different level, at an obvious level too, but at an unconscious one, right? And if you're afraid to be, if you don't feel like you're a Wonder Woman brand or fear it, this wouldn't be for you, right? So this is my intent for using the goddess Athena and the adjective Wonder Woman in describing a brand. And it's also important to note the Athena arena and Wonder Woman brand is not for everyone. I don't want it to be, right? You don't want everyone to be your client, your ideal customer. You don't. You got to get clear on who they are and who you want to work with. So I want the Athena arena to be only for those who are willing to step into courage about themselves and be willing to accept that they are creators of their own experience. This is how you get super specific about your audience without saying too much, right? And my intention isn't to judge or criticize people that aren't willing to step into the courage. This is a huge leap in consciousness, by the way. To accept that you're the creator of your own experience is huge, which we'll learn about down the line. Or you can go over to my other podcast where I talk about it, Your Weekly Dose of Higher Consciousness. I talk about the level of consciousness of courage and willingness to accept you're the creator of your own experience. It's a very high level of consciousness. And it's really a doorway, it's a spiritual doorway to higher levels. So when you really get intentional and specific about aligning with a particular brand, your ideal client can self-select or identify with the brand or not, and that's what you want. You want it to be clear. Yes or no. Some may be willing to step into courage about it. This is the first step. And just give it a try or not. If you're not in that ballpark yet, then it's not going to appeal to you. But if it's a hell yes, that's what I want. I want people that are saying, hell yes, I want to step into courage and be the creator of my own experience. So, and another point is you are interested in the brand for how it makes you feel and the implied promise. This is really an important aspect of branding. What are you promising people? And how can you articulate that quickly? Right? Supercharge your business with the Wonder Woman brand. That's implying something, wouldn't you say? And that's what I want you to think about in And we're going to talk more about branding because this is an important aspect to marketing as we go along. But I didn't want to get too deep into this because I have a whole webinar of the 12 archetypes in branding that you can register for. And I talk about each of the 12 so that you can start to understand which, maybe you can identify with one or two of them and use that to start fine-tuning your messaging and communication. So if you want to go further, you can go to theathenaarena.com/AT, which is the abbreviation for A is for arc, T is for types. And you can register for that free webinar that you will get instant access to. And again, that's theathenaarena.com/AT. So how can you supercharge your business by using an archetype in branding? Well, if you're a personal brand like me, meaning you are the face of your brand, you can take an archetype test at archetypes.com. That's ARCHETYPES.com. That's where I took my first test, and it was so fun to do, which you're probably not going to be surprised by the results, but it's fun to get validation as to your skill set and strengths. And as I recall, I came up as a creative and a magician, which interestingly is both aspects of the goddess Athena again. So this theme, this pattern and consciousness keeps coming up for me. Super interesting. And I want to recommend this gorgeous book. It's called Archetypes in Branding, a Toolkit for Creatives and Strategists, of which I am both. And it's a gorgeously designed hardcover spiral-bound book, so it's easy to work with, with the spiral binding. You can flip through the thick, heavy pages and cards that come with it. And let me tell you about it. It's an accessible and real-world approach to brand development that will help you enliven your brand strategy and create resonant and authentic communications. Combined with a companion deck of 60 original archetype cards, this kit will give you a practical tool to reveal your brand's motivations, how it moves in the world, what its trigger points are, and why it attracts certain customers. It's a tool to forge relationships with the myriad stakeholders that affect your business, and to empower your team, if you have one, to access their creativity and innovate with integrity. Now, if you have a company, you're not necessarily going to brand it according to who you are unless you're the face of the company. You really want to look at the 12 archetypes in branding and figure out which one really is the strong representative of your company. So I highly recommend considering this, and if you're new to branding, it's a great place to start for a rough outline of the type of words you want to use to resonate with people, and use that powerful archetypal pattern and consciousness that people are going to recognize right away without having to say too much. This is where the cost of marketing goes way down, because you don't have to say too much and people get it. So I think that's all I wanted to say, and I did want to mention that ad agencies have been using this forever because it's a powerful tool to use. You cut through a lot of the stuff and you get super concise about your messaging and your visual branding as well. I'm talking more about the energetic component of your brand, aligning with intent and words and power and results and promises, things like that. This is what the real important aspect to branding is. The visual side is the fun side, but the first part has to come first. And I'm going to do a whole podcast about branding in general, because I've been doing online marketing and web design since 2009. Not a single one of my clients has any awareness about this as one of them. So we'll talk about that in another podcast. So again, you can find this book on Amazon, and there'll be a link in the show notes for you to find it. And if you'd like to check out my video, it's a video webinar I did for a group the 12 archetypes in branding, you can register for free at theathenaarena.com/AT. That's the initials A for archetype, A for arc, T for type. I try to keep it simple. AT, you can register for that and get instant access to that. Next week, we're going to talk about the Clifton Strengths Test and what a superpower it is and how it's been proven in consciousness to be significant and worth your while. I'm going to share my test results and reasons that I think it's an excellent way to put a stake in the ground in your own life, especially if you're floundering and indecisive about anything. This is going to help you get firmly rooted in direction. So, thank you for joining me, and I will see you next week.